He found me sitting on the stairwell floor, holding proof of everything he had never wanted me to know. I heard the door to the third-floor hallway open and I looked up and there he was. Dr. Hayes. Standing at the top of the stairs with a coffee cup in one hand and a folder in the other, staring down at me like he was trying to calculate exactly how much I had seen. The answer was written all over my face. I have never been good at hiding things. For a long moment neither of us said anything. Then he walked down 2 steps, sat on the stair above me, not beside me, above me, keeping that precise professional distance even now, and he said, very quietly, "You went into my office." It was not a question. I did not pretend otherwise. I said yes. And then, because I had nothing left to lose, I asked him who my mother was to him. He was quiet for so long that I thought he was going to stand up, tell me to come to his office Monday morning, and turn the whole thing into a formal academic meeting. That would have been so completely, perfectly him. But he did not do that. He set his coffee cup on the step and he told me about Claire. His sister. Younger than him by 4 years. 12 years ago, Claire Hayes had been in a car accident on Route 9 outside of the city. It was winter, black ice, and her car had gone off the road and into a drainage ditch. She had been unconscious. The temperatures were dropping. And the woman who had pulled over, climbed down into that ditch, kept Claire's airway clear, and stayed with her until the paramedics arrived, was my mother. My mother was a nurse. Of course she stopped. She would have stopped for anyone. That was exactly who she was. But she had stayed at the hospital for 6 hours. She had given the family her number. She had called to check on Claire twice in the weeks after. And when Claire sent a thank you card, my mother had written back. They had kept in touch for years. Not closely, not constantly, but the way people do when something enormous connects them. Dr. Hayes said that Claire talked about my mother like she was a kind of quiet miracle. And when my mother got sick, when the diagnosis came and everything moved fast, Claire had called him. He had already known who I was by then. He had known my name, known I was applying to Harvard University, known that my mother's illness had devastated our finances. And when my financial aid fell short, he had made a decision. I asked him why he had never told me. Why 2 years of silence? Why 2 years of being the hardest professor I had ever encountered when he could have just, I did not even know, been human about it? He looked at me then. Really looked at me, in a way he never did in class, where his gaze was always clinical and assessing. This was different. This was something I did not have a word for yet. He said he could not tell me. That if I knew, it would change the dynamic. That I would feel indebted, or pitted, and I would never be able to perform at my actual ability because I would always be performing for him. He said he was harder on me in class because he needed me to be better than good. Because I was. I did not know what to do with that. I still do not, honestly. What I did know was that I was sitting 4 inches away from a man who had been carrying my family's grief quietly for years, and looking at him felt completely different than it had an hour ago. He was not cold. He was contained. There is a difference, and I had been misreading it from the beginning. We sat in that stairwell for almost an hour. He told me about Claire's recovery, about the years after. I told him things about my mother I had not said out loud to anyone since the funeral. At some point the distance between us on the stairs had closed without either of us noticing, and when I finally stood up to leave, our hands brushed on the railing. It was nothing. A half-second of accidental contact. But I felt it for the rest of the day. Mara could tell something had happened the moment I walked back into the library. She looked at my face and said, that was not a normal office hours meeting. I told her she had no idea. She asked if I was okay. I told her I honestly did not know. Because here is the thing nobody tells you about finding out someone has been quietly, anonymously kind to you for years. It does not feel like a nice surprise. It feels like the ground shifting under your feet. It feels like looking at a painting you have walked past 100 times and suddenly seeing that it is actually a window. And the man on the other side of that window was still my professor. Still the person who graded my exams and controlled my academic future. Still someone I was absolutely, categorically not allowed to feel anything for. I told myself that very firmly on the walk home. I told myself again before I fell asleep. I do not think either version of me believed it. I had promised myself I would keep my distance. Then he asked me to be his research assistant and I said yes before I could stop myself. Stay tuned for the next part.